The keys to my new bungalow are still warm in my palm as I stand on the front porch, breathing in the crisp Bend, Oregon air. 3 bedrooms mine, all mine. The thought still feels foreign, like trying on clothes I'm not sure I deserve. 2 cars pull into my driveway, kicking up dust that sparkles in the afternoon sunlight. My stomach twists as I recognize my parents' Buick, followed by Brooks's oversized SUV. Why are they here? I texted them my new address just an hour ago, expecting congratulatory calls, not the stock car doors slam in quick succession. My mother, Lorraine, emerges first, her silver blonde hair perfectly coiffed despite the 5-hour drive from Portland. My father follows, then Brooks with his wife, Marin, trailing behind. Their 3 children tumble out last, racing across my newly seeded lawn. Alice, there you are. Mom calls, waving as if I might have missed the family caravan descending on my quiet street. Behind her, Brooks opens the trunk, revealing suitcases. Actual suitcases and boxes, moving boxes. My fingers tighten around the house keys, the metal edges biting into my skin. What's all this? I ask, my voice smaller than I'd like. Mom approaches, eyes darting between me and the modest bungalow behind me. Her smile falters as she takes in the single-story structure with its simple landscaping. Well, we've come to move in, of course. She looks back at the house again, brow furrowing. But Ellis, she lowers her voice to a stage whisper. Then where do we sleep? The ground seems to shift beneath my feet. 9 years of saving, of skipping vacations and brown bagging lunches, of working weekends and holidays for the overtime. All for this moment, my moment. And somehow, without a single conversation, they've decided it belongs to them. Move in, I repeat. The words taste wrong in my mouth. Don't play dumb, Ellis. Brooks calls, hauling a suitcase from the trunk. We've been planning this for months. Planning this? Last month's family dinner rushes back to me in vivid detail. We'd gathered at my parents' home, the same Sunday ritual we'd maintained since I was a child. I'd mentioned, perhaps too proudly, that I'd finally qualified for a mortgage. Our new home, Mom had said immediately, clapping her hands together. Finally, I'd frowned, confused by the plural. But before I could correct her, Brooks had pulled out his phone. I've been saving listings, he'd said, scrolling through properties that made my stomach clench. Sprawling houses with price tags north of $750,000. This one has enough bedrooms for everyone. I'd said nothing then. A lifetime of experience had taught me that disagreement only led to disappointment there's in me. But I'd assumed they would realize their mistake. That surely they couldn't actually believe. This is my home, I say now, my voice steadier than I expect. I bought it for myself. Mom's laugh is quick and dismissive. Don't be ridiculous, Ellis. We've been planning this move for months. She gestures toward my father, who's directing Brooks on where to set down a particularly heavy box. Your father's already given notice at his job. My hands stop trembling. Something shifts inside me. A tectonic plate finding new alignment. I straighten my shoulders. Your plans, not mine. The words hang in the air between us. Mom's smile freezes, then slowly disappears. Dad glances up, sensing the change in atmosphere. What's the holdup? Let's get everything inside before Dark Dot Ellis is being difficult, Brooks says, joining us on the porch. He's always been taller than me, and he uses it now, standing close enough that I have to tilt my chin up to meet his eyes. She's pretending she didn't promise to help us. Promise, I echo. I never, Ellis. Dad's voice has that familiar edge, the one that always preceded punishment when we were children. Your brother has given up his apartment. The children have been enrolled in school here. The weight of it crashes down on me. After years of putting their needs first, of being the responsible one, while Brooks floundered from one failed venture to another, I am once again expected to solve their problems. And if I don't, I'll be labeled the villain in the family story. Brooks places his hand on my shoulder, his fingers pressing just a little too firmly. He lowers his voice the way he did when we were kids, and he was convincing me to take the blame for something he'd broken. If you don't help your own family, he says, who will? I look at the keys in my hand, at the door behind me that leads to empty rooms waiting for my life to fill them, at the family watching me with expectation in their eyes, and for the first time, I wonder if I have the courage to choose myself. The ping of a new email notification draws my attention away from the unpacked boxes crowding my living room. 3 days since the driveway confrontation, and my family has retreated to Portland in a cold silence that feels both like relief and impending storm. I tap the screen expecting a message from work, but instead find something from Valley Vista Realty. My thumb hovers over the delete button. I already have my bungalow. Why would I need a realtor? But the subject line freezes my blood. Morgan Family Dream Home Purchase Agreement ready. I open it, scanning quickly until I find the words that punch the air from my lungs. As requested by Lorraine Morgan on behalf of Ellis Morgan, primary applicant, I've attached the purchase agreement for the Riverside Estates property. The $2,000 hold has been processed using the payment information provided. My legs give out. I sink onto the nearest box, hand pressed against my suddenly racing heart. The room tilts as I scroll through the attached documents, each page revealing a new betrayal. My name, my financial information, loan paperwork listing. Me as cosigner on a $768,000 mortgage, a house I've never seen. My mother used my identity, my credit score, everything I've worked for. When the doorbell rings an hour later, I'm still sitting on that box surrounded by printouts of emails and documentation I've pulled from my accounts. The browser tabs open on my laptop show a digital trail of my family's presumption. My mother walks in first, not waiting for an invitation, followed by my father and Brooks. They arrange themselves around me, Brooks pacing with the confidence of someone who's never been told no. My father checking his watch every 30 seconds as if my life crisis is inconveniently timed. And my mother rifling through a stack of my mail on the counter. You look awful, Mom says, as if my appearance is the problem. Have you been sleeping? I hold up the realtor's email. You used my name without permission. Her eyes flick to my father, who suddenly finds the ceiling fascinating. Don't be dramatic, Ellis, she says, waving away the evidence of identity fraud, as if I've complained about borrowed lip gloss. I simply initiated the process. You would have been consulted before anything was finalized. Consulted? The word tastes bitter. You put a $2,000 hold using my payment information. That's not consultation, that's theft. Brooks stops pacing. Strong words for family helping family. How exactly were you helping me by trying to make me responsible for a house I can't afford? It's an investment. My father finally speaks, his tone suggesting I'm being unreasonable. The schools there are excellent. We've already enrolled the kids. The casual mention of yet another decision made without me lands like a slap. You enrolled the children in a school district where you don't live based on a house I never agreed to buy. Well, we had to secure their spots, Mom says, as if this explains everything. The waiting list is quite long. Brooke shrugs, leaning against my kitchen counter. I've already given notice at my job. 2 weeks, and I'm officially a bend. Resident. Each revelation built upon the last, constructing a tower of presumption so high I can barely see past it. They've arranged their entire futures around my financial sacrifice without once asking if I was willing to make it. This stops now, I say, gathering the papers into a neat stack. I'm not buying that house. I'm not co-signing the loan. I'm not funding your relocation. Mom's eyes fill with tears that look rehearsed. If your credit score drops because of this, our scores will fall even further. We'll never qualify for anything decent. Our rental agreement is already terminated, Brooks adds. The landlord has new tenants coming in next month. You're destroying this family. Mom whispers, a tear sliding perfectly down her cheek. After everything we've sacrificed for you, something snaps inside me. Sacrifice? Let me tell you about sacrifice. I pull out my budget book, the one that's tracked every penny for 9 years. 65% of every paycheck saved. No vacations, no new cars, lunches packed at home, secondhand furniture. 9 years of saying no to everything, so I could finally say yes to something that was just for me. My father scoffs. Everyone has to budget, Ellis. Not Brooks, I say, looking directly at my brother. Not when you emptied my college tuition account for his coffee shop that lasted all of 6 months. Brooks has the decency to look away. That was an investment, Mom says defensively. In him, never in me. The room fills with tense silence, broken by the sudden ring of my phone. Nella's name flashes on the screen, and for the first time in days, I feel something other than dread. I need to take this, I say, standing straighter. We're not finished, Brooks warns. I answer the phone anyway. Noel's warm hello, giving me the courage I've been searching for. I look at my family, these people who claim to love me while planning to use me, and find my voice. Actually, we are finished. The answer is no. As I watch their faces fall when I firmly said no, I wondered if protecting your own future is worth the pain of disappointing those who raised you. Should I have compromised and found a larger home we could all share? Or was drawing this boundary the only way to finally claim my independence? At the office the next day, the phone rings for the 5th time in an hour. I don't recognize the number, but I know exactly who it is. Another distant relative I haven't spoken to in years, suddenly concerned about my abandonment of family. I silence it and set my phone face down on the kitchen counter where 3 other missed calls from area codes across Oregon blink accusingly. Brooks has been busy. My brother's strategic campaign began yesterday with a carefully worded Facebook post about family crisis and prayers needed by nightfall. Second cousins I barely remember were messaging me about doing the right thing. When Aunt Patty called this morning in tears about that poor boy and his children, I knew Brooks had elevated his game. The landline rings now. My emergency backup that only 5 people have the number to. I answer without thinking. Ellis, it's Grandma Joanne. My stomach clenches. Grandma Joanne, the family matriarch who sends birthday checks and Christmas packages, even though we see her once every 3 years. I don't understand what's happening, she says, her voice wavering with the particular fragility that appears whenever she wants something. Brooks says you've left them homeless. That's not true, I say. But she continues as if I haven't spoken. I've always included you equally in my will, Ellis. That family takes care of family. The threat hangs between us for 3 heartbeats before I manage to respond. I saved for 9 years to buy this house. Grandma, they assumed I was buying it for them without ever asking me. Well, she says, voice hardening, I never thought you'd be so selfish. After she hangs up, I sink to the kitchen floor and press my forehead against my knees. They're winning. Even from 30 miles away, they're finding ways to make me doubt myself. I close my eyes and the memory surfaces like an unwelcome visitor. My senior year of college, opening my tuition account to find it empty. Mom's voice on the phone, casual as if discussing the weather. We had to help Brooks with the coffee shop. You'll figure something out. You always do. The coffee shop that closed 4 months later. The tuition balance that nearly kept me from graduating. The 60-hour weeks I worked while taking a full course load. Coming home to my studio apartment. at 2 a.m. to eat instant oatmeal because it was 19 cents per packet at the discount store. The night I found my mother's name on the withdrawal slip, I made a promise to myself. Standing in my bathroom, staring at my hollowed-eyed reflection, I whispered it aloud. Never again. They will never make me financially vulnerable again. 9 years of that promise. 9 years of brown bag lunches and shared apartments with paper-thin walls. 9 years of saying no to vacations and dinners out and new clothes. 9 years of 65% of every paycheck going straight into savings. My phone buzzes with a text. I expect another relative's name, but it's Marin. I understand why you said no, she's written. I would have done the same. The words glow on the screen. A small flame of validation in the storm. I read them 3 times before setting the phone down. Something unfamiliar and warm spreading through my chest. Later that evening, they arrive unannounced at my apartment. Mom, Dad, and Brooks, finding me surrounded by half-packed boxes for my move. Dad stands with his arms crossed while Mom paces, picking up my things and setting them down in different spots as if already rearranging my life. After everything we've done for you, Dad says, his voice low and measured, this is how you repay us. Something shifts inside me. Without a word, I cross to the bookshelf and pull down 3 photo albums I've kept since childhood. I place them on the coffee table and open the first one. My high school graduation, I say, pointing to a photo where I stand alone in cap and gown. You had that fishing trip, remember? I turn the page. College scholarship ceremony. Brooks had a baseball game. That day, page after page, I turn. My voice growing steadier with each one. My first art show, the design award ceremony, the promotion celebration Noel threw for me that they said was too far to drive. This is what you've done for me, I say finally, closing the album. You've taught me that I'm only valuable when I'm useful to you. My mother's face crumples. Dad looks away. Brooks starts to speak, but the doorbell interrupts him. Noelle stands there with 2 more empty boxes and a roll of packing tape. She takes in the scene with one glance and steps inside, ignoring Brooks's attempt to intercept her. Ready for the next load? Thanks for watching, she asks me as if my family isn't there at all. Give us a minute, Brooks says, reaching for her arm. Noelle sidesteps him gracefully. Ellis and I have a schedule. The truck's only rented until 7. While my family has spent decades demanding sacrifice, my friends have spent years celebrating my milestones. The contrast stands stark in my living room as Noel begins efficiently packing my kitchen items. We need to resolve this, my mother insists. I straighten my shoulders. There's nothing to resolve. The house is mine. We can meet tomorrow, I add, surprising myself with how firm my voice sounds. No apology follows. No softening qualification. Just the statement standing on its own. They exchange glances, sensing the shift, but misreading it as weakness. At your new place, Brooks says quickly. We can discuss options. I nod, watching them leave with visible relief on their faces. They think I'm reconsidering. They don't know I've already completed the purchase and move. That my furniture was delivered yesterday. That the utilities are in my name alone. That night, I stand in my finished living room, rehearsing the words I've waited 9 years to say. My voice doesn't waver once. The morning sun streams through the windows of my new bungalow, painting golden rectangles across hardwood floors I selected. Myself. I adjust a vase of fresh sunflowers on the dining table. 1 place setting, not 5, not 8. My college diploma hangs prominently in the entryway, no longer tucked away in a drawer as it was in my apartment. Each item in this house has been chosen with deliberate care. Each placement a quiet declaration. My phone buzzes with a text from Noelle. They on their way. I respond with a simple thumbs up emoji and take a deep breath. The air smells of lemon polish and fresh paint. My choices, my home. When the doorbell rings, I count to 5 before answering. My mother's smile falters as she steps inside, her eyes darting around the fully furnished living room. Behind her, my father's eyebrows lift in surprise. "You've already moved in," Mom says, her voice flat. Brooks pushes past them both, stopping short at the side of my leather reading chair angled perfectly beneath the window. "Where's the space for our stuff?" "There isn't any," I say, my voice steady. "Would you like some coffee? I just made a fresh pot." The confidence in my tone catches them off guard. Brooks looks to our parents, waiting for their cue, but they're still taking in the bookshelves filled with my architecture books, the artwork hanging on walls, the clearly established presence of a single occupant. "Alice." My father begins, but falls silent as his gaze lands on the framed blueprints of my bungalow. My first independent project now proudly displayed above the fireplace. While Mom inspects my kitchen cabinets, Brooks slips outside. Through the window, I watch him approach my neighbor Harold, who's watering his rose bushes. Brooks gestures animatedly toward my house, his smile wide and convincing. I open the window just enough to hear his voice carry across the yard. "Moving in this weekend." Alice has been so generous to offer us a place to stay while Harold straightens, water dripping from his suspended watering can. "Really? That's not what Alice told me when she signed the fence permit last week. She was so proud to show me the house plans. Said it was her first place all to herself after 9 years of saving. Even showed me the single occupant paperwork from the HOA. Brooks's shoulders stiffen. When he turns, he finds Marin standing behind him, arms crossed, having heard every word. "Single occupant paperwork?" she asks, her voice carrying clearly through the open window. "You told me Alice had agreed to everyone moving in." Brooks stammers. She changed her mind. Obviously, she's being selfish. Marin's eyes narrow. "Like when she changed her mind about lending you $5,000 last year? The money you swore she'd offered, but somehow she had no memory of?" I close the window gently and turn back to my mother, who's reorganizing my spice rack. As I watch her examining my kitchen cabinets, calculating how to rearrange them for her needs, I wonder, should I offer a compromise to keep peace? Or would any concession now invite boundary violations forever? The doorbell rings again, saving me from answering my own question. When I open it, Noelle stands there with a large flat package wrapped in brown paper. Surprised, she announces, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. "I couldn't wait to give you your housewarming gift." My mother's head snaps up. "Housewarming? We weren't told about any party." "Just a small gathering next weekend," Noelle says, winking at me. "Alice's friends are so excited to see her new place. We've been hearing about her saving for this for years." The package in Noelle's hand suddenly feels like reinforcement troops arriving at a critical battle moment. She tears away the paper to reveal a doormat with custom lettering. "Alice's home." "Perfect for your front porch," she says, her voice carrying throughout the house. Since this is, officially Alice's home, the silence that follows has weight and substance. Brooks re-enters with Marin behind him, his confident stride now reduced to uncertain shuffling. His eyes dart to the doormat, then to me, calculation replacing certainty. My father clears his throat. "Perhaps we should discuss alternative arrangements," he says. The first crack in their unified front, Marin steps forward. "What about that apartment complex on Riverside? The one with 3 bedrooms starting at $1,800? Brooks shoots her a betrayed look. "That's not the point. Alice has all this space for herself." Marin interrupts. "She bought it for herself." My mother sits heavily on one of my kitchen stools, finally seeming to understand that the family's assumed plan has completely unraveled. "But what about the house we put a hold on?" We'll lose our deposit if we should talk about this in the living room, my father says, attempting to regain control of the situation. Alice needs to make her final decision clear to everyone. I nod, gesturing toward my carefully arranged living room. Let's do that. As they file in, I catch Nell's eye. She gives me a subtle thumbs up, and for the first time since they arrived, I feel the tension in my shoulders begin to ease. My home remains my own, its boundaries finally becoming visible to those who never thought to look for them. My mother's fingers work nervously at her pearl necklace as she leans forward on my new sofa. The cushion beneath her barely shows an indentation as if she's prepared to spring up at any moment. Alice, be reasonable, she says, her voice honeyed with the familiar tone she's used since I was small. We're not asking you to give us anything, just co-sign the loan. You have no dependents, no real responsibilities. Dad nods, his smile straying beneath his mustache. It's the sensible solution. You keep the starter home. He glances around my living room, unable to hide his disappointment at its modest proportions. And we get a place with enough room for everyone. Brooks paces behind them, hands clasped behind his back like he's presenting a business proposal. Family duty isn't something you can just opt out of. Alice, we've always been there for each other. I notice how carefully they've positioned themselves. My parents on the sofa facing me, Brooks moving behind like a shark circling prey. They've rehearsed this probably in the rental car on the way over. And if you refuse, Brooks adds, stopping to lock eyes with me, you're effectively cutting yourself off from this family. Is that really what you want, to be alone? The threat hangs in the air between us. For a moment, I feel that familiar tightening. In my chest, the panic of potentially losing the only family I've ever known. But then I look around at my home. My home. The sensation passes, replaced by something steadier, stronger. I rise slowly from my armchair and walk to the small secretary desk in the corner. 3 sets of eyes follow me as I retrieve a folder. I've been financially independent since college, I say, returning to stand before them rather than resuming my seat. Despite what you all did, what we did. Mom's hand flies to her throat in practiced defense. We supported you. You drained. My tuition account for Brooks's coffee shop, I say, my voice calm but firm. Senior year, spring semester. I had to work 2 jobs while finishing my degree. Dad shifts uncomfortably. That was an investment in your brother's future. And what about my future? I open the folder and remove a stack of bank statements, placing them on the coffee table. 9 years of statements, 65% of every paycheck saved. No vacations, lunch from home every day. No streaming services, no new clothes, unless absolutely necessary. I tap my finger on the most recent statement. This is how I afforded this house. Not by having it handed to me. Not by using someone else's credit or name. Brooks scoffs. So what? You want a medal for being boring? For having no life? I have a life, I reply. When I built myself piece by piece, I looked directly at my mother. You keep saying I'm betraying the family. I'm not betraying anyone. I'm just done betraying myself. The silence that follows feels like the space between lightning and thunder, charged with electricity waiting for the boom. This is ridiculous. Brooks finally stops. We've given notice at our apartment. The kids are enrolled in school here. Dad's already quit his job in Portland. Your poor planning isn't my emergency, I say. The words feeling foreign, but right on my tongue. Mom's eyes narrow. We raised you better than this? I consider her words, churning them over carefully. Maybe you did. You raised me to be responsible, to work hard, to honor my commitments. That's exactly what I'm doing now. I stand and cross to my front door, opening it wide. The evening air rushes in cool and clarifying. Reach into my pocket and pull out the spare key I'd found in my mother's purse yesterday. the one she'd made without asking. Walking to the entryway table, I place it there with a soft but deliberate click. You don't get to decide what my success looks like, I say. You don't get to claim what I've earned as communal property. Brooks's face transforms disbelief, giving way to anger as he realizes. I'm not going to change my mind after everything we've done for you. This is my home, I interrupt, speaking the words I've rehearsed countless times, bought, earned, and chosen by me. Mom stands now, trembling slightly. How can you be so selfish? Family helps family. Yes, they do. I agree. But help isn't the same as sacrifice. Help isn't the same as exploitation. I step aside, the open door, a clear invitation to leave. I'm not asking you to leave my life, just my house. One by one, they file past me. Dad first, eyes averted. Brooks next, jaw tight with fury. Mom last, lingering as if certain I'll crumble at the final moment. Alice, she whispers, reaching for my hand. Please. I look at her, really look at her, and for the first time see her not as the all-powerful matriarch of my childhood, but as a woman who never learned to stand on her own. In that moment, I feel something unexpected. Compassion without capitulation. I love you, I tell her. But this answer is still no. When I close the door behind them, I don't slam it in anger. I shut it with quiet finality, then lean my forehead against the cool wood and breathe. The weeks that follow pass in strange silence. Through the neighborhood grapevine, I hear that Brooks and his family have moved into a small rental across town. 2 bedrooms for 5 people, a tight fit, but manageable. A fresh start, whether they wanted one or not. My parents' silence stretches longer. No calls, no texts, no emails. At first, the absence feels like punishment, but gradually it transforms into something else. Space, room to breathe, to exist without explanation or apology. 34 days after I close my door on them, my phone buzzes with a text from Marin. When I open it, I find a photo. Brooks painting the living room of their rental. The children helping with rollers, making a mess, but laughing. Below it, her message. Thank you. I think we needed this reset more than we knew. I stare at the image, trying to decipher what it means for them, for me, for whatever comes next. My finger hovers over the reply button, uncertain what to say to this unexpected. Olive branch from the most unexpected source. The laughter of my friends mingles with the clink of wine glasses in my living room. 3 months into home ownership, and my bungalow finally feels like the sanctuary I envisioned during those 9 years of saving. Noelle raises her glass in another toast, her smile reflecting the warm glow of the vintage floor lamp I restored last weekend. To Ellis, who taught us all that saying no can be the beginning of something beautiful, she declares, I don't blush or deflect the compliment as I once would have. Instead, I lift my own glass, allowing myself to fully inhabit this moment of joy without seeking anyone's approval but my own. My gaze drifts to the wall beside us where I've created a gallery of personal milestones. My architecture degree, photos from hiking trips I took alone, the certificate from my first professional award. Not a single image is crowded by obligation or overshadowed by someone else's expectations. The light in here is perfect, remarks my neighbor Janet, an artist in her 70s who's become an unexpected friend. You've created something special. The word created settles around me like a comfortable sweater. For the first time in my life, I'm building something that belongs entirely to me. My phone buzzes against the coffee table just as I'm hanging the final photograph, a simple shot of my front door on closing day. I almost let it go to voicemail when I see my mother's name on the screen. That something compels me to answer, Alice. Her voice sounds smaller than I remember. I was wondering if I might visit sometime next week. Just me. 3 months ago, I would have immediately rearranged my schedule, grateful for any scrap of attention. The old anxiety flickers briefly, then dissolves. Tuesday evening would work. I reply, my voice steady. I have meetings until 6, so anytime after that would be fine. Just for dinner, though I have an early client presentation Wednesday. The silence stretches long enough that I wonder if she's hung up. Tuesday at 6:30, then she finally says, I don't apologize for the boundaries. I don't explain or justify. The conversation ends with simple confirmation rather than desperate placation. Later that evening, my backyard fills with the people who truly supported me. Marin sits at my patio table, watching her children explore my small garden. She left Brooks last month, a decision that earned her immediate inclusion in what Noel jokingly calls the Boundary Brigade. Janet brought strawberry shortcake. The neighbor from across the street dropped by with a potted herb garden. We raise our glasses as the sunset paints the sky in broad strokes of orange and purple. To new beginnings, Marin says, and boundaries worth keeping. The following Tuesday arrives with surprising calm when the doorbell rings precisely at 6:30. I open it to find my mother standing there with a small box of cinnamon cookies, the ones she made when I was little and achieved something worthy of celebration. She doesn't push past me or immediately criticize my decor choices. Instead, she waits to be invited in, stepping carefully into the space I've created. We sit in silence for several minutes, the weight of everything said and unsaid between us, creating a tangible presence in the room. I move to the kitchen and prepare coffee for two, my movements unhurried. I don't rush to fill the silence or apologize for the modesty of my home. When I return, I place her mug before her with quiet confidence. As I watch my mother take her first sip of coffee in my kitchen, I wondered if some bridges are meant to be rebuilt differently than they first stood. Would you tear down completely and start fresh, or salvage the foundation and redesign the structure? She cradles the mug between her hands, her wedding ring clinking softly against the ceramic. This is a lovely home, Ellis, she says finally. The words sound unpracticed, tentative, perhaps the first genuine compliment she's given me in years. It's a small beginning, but it's enough for now.